I was balancing a paper plate full of half-melted cupcakes when my stepmother's voice sliced through the baby shower like a knife through silk. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. At least this baby will grow up in a real family, she said, lifting her glass slightly, smiling for the room. A mother and a father. A few people laughed. Most didn't. Then her sister leaned closer to her, loud enough for everyone to hear. Unlike that one. My hands started shaking. Because standing right beside me was my 8-year-old son, and he understood exactly what she meant. Before I could pull him back. Before I could protect him. Before I could even breathe. My son stepped forward on his own. And said something that would destroy every lie they'd built about us. My name is Naomi Brooks. I'm 31 years old. I'm a single mother. And for as long as I can remember, my family has treated those 3 words like a crime. My son, Caleb, is 8. Curly hair. Thoughtful eyes. The kind of kid who notices when someone feels left out and fixes it without being asked. His father, Marcus, died 2 years after Caleb was born. A construction accident. One phone call. One moment that split my life clean in half. Marcus and I were never married. And according to my family, that erased everything else. They don't talk about how he worked double shifts. How he sang Caleb to sleep off-key every night. How he proposed with a ring he saved 6 months for, just weeks before the accident. They talk about what we didn't do right. And they never let me forget it. Especially Linda, my stepmother. She married my dad when I was 14. Came into my life with a polished smile and rules about what respectable women look like. To her, I was always one wrong choice away from embarrassment. When I got pregnant at 22, she stopped pretending to tolerate me. When Marcus died, she decided I was unfinished business. She liked to say things like, "Children need stability. Love isn't enough. Some choices follow you forever." She never said my son's name when she meant him. Today was her niece's baby shower. Pastel balloons. Soft music. Perfect cupcakes. And somehow, despite everything, I let myself believe this time might be different. Caleb was excited. He picked out the gift himself. Wrapped it himself. Even taped a small envelope to it and told me that part's private. I didn't ask questions. I trusted him. We arrived early. I smiled when I needed to. Nodded when spoken to. Took my place near the back of the room like I always do. I thought I could get through one afternoon. I was wrong. Linda waited. She always does. She waited until the room was full. Until drinks were poured. Until attention was focused forward. Then she struck. "At least this baby will grow up with both parents," she said lightly. "Some people just make better choices." Her sister laughed. "Right? Some kids are just born complicated." That word. Caleb stiffened beside me. I felt it before I saw it, the way his shoulders pulled tight, the way his small hand clenched. I turned to him instantly. "Hey," I whispered. "You okay?" He didn't answer. Instead, he did something I'll never forget. He walked forward. Straight toward Linda. With the gift in his hands. "Excuse me," Caleb said. His voice didn't shake. The room quieted, because when a child speaks calmly in a tense room, people listen. "This is for you," he said, holding out the package. Linda blinked, surprised. "Oh. Well. Thank you," she said stiffly. She opened it. Inside was a framed photo. Marcus. Caleb. Me. Taken at the park the day Marcus taught Caleb how to ride a bike. Under the frame was the envelope. Linda hesitated. Then opened it. Her smile vanished. Because the letter wasn't from Caleb. It was from Marcus. A letter he wrote the night before his final shift. A letter meant for his son, in case he didn't come home. Caleb spoke again. My dad said if anyone ever made me feel like I didn't belong, I should let his words speak for him. The room was silent. Linda's hands were trembling. And then my son said the sentence that changed everything. My dad chose me. And my mom. That means I was never a mistake. That was the moment the room turned. That was the moment the shame shifted direction. And that was only the beginning. For a long moment, no one spoke. Not the woman holding the gift. Not the relatives frozen in their seats. Not even the baby shower host, who stood awkwardly beside the cake table, unsure whether this moment counted as celebration or catastrophe. The only sound in the room was the soft rustle of paper as Linda's fingers trembled around the letter. She hadn't finished reading it yet. I could tell. Her lips moved silently as her eyes dragged across each line, slower now, like the words were heavier than she expected. Because Marcus hadn't written that letter to be polite. He wrote it to be honest. I knew the letter by heart. Not because I'd read it often, I hadn't. But because I'd read it once on the floor of my apartment, the night after the funeral, when the house still smelled like flowers and grief. Marcus wrote, "If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it home. I'm not scared. I'm proud. Proud of the woman you're becoming, and the mother you already are." Linda swallowed hard. The room leaned in. Naomi doesn't need fixing. She doesn't need saving. She needs space to be strong the way she already is. Someone shifted uncomfortably. And my son, my beautiful boy. Never let anyone tell you that love only counts when it looks a certain way. That's when Linda's face changed. Not anger. Not embarrassment. Fear. Because Marcus had written something else. Something she never expected to be read out loud. Linda lowered the letter slightly and looked straight at me. Her eyes weren't sharp anymore. They were cornered. "Where did you get this?" she asked Caleb. He answered calmly. "My mom keeps it in a box," he said. "With my dad's watch. And pictures. And hospital papers." The words hospital papers hit her like a slap. Because those papers were the reason Linda hated Marcus in the first place. And now the truth, the one she'd buried under judgment and silence, was rising. Marcus hadn't been reckless. He hadn't been irresponsible. He'd taken the job because my father had promised him full-time hours, then pulled the offer back at the last minute. Marcus worked that shift anyway. Because we needed rent money. Because pride doesn't pay bills. And Linda knew it. She knew her husband's decision helped push Marcus into that site. She just never expected a child to bring it back into the light. A woman near the drinks table whispered, "Oh my God." Another murmured, "I didn't know." My cousin Troy cleared his throat. That's not what we were told." Linda snapped the letter closed. "That's enough," she said sharply. But the authority in her voice was gone. Caleb looked up at her. "No," he said. "It's not." Every head snapped toward him. "I heard what you said about families," he continued. "You said some kids are complicated." His hands were shaking now, just a little, but he didn't stop. "I'm not complicated," he said. "I'm loved." Something cracked in my chest. I stood up. Not to interrupt him. To stand with him. "You don't get to rewrite our story," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "You don't get to erase his father just because the truth is inconvenient." Linda laughed, short and brittle. "You're making a scene." "No," I said. "You made one. We're just finishing it." For the first time, someone clapped. Then another. Soft. Uncertain. But real. My dad, who had been silent for years, finally spoke. That boy deserves respect, he said quietly. Linda turned to him in disbelief. You're taking her side. I'm taking his, he said. And that was it. That was the moment the power shifted completely. I knelt beside Caleb and brushed his curls back. You ready? I asked. He nodded. We walked out together. No shouting. No tears. Just the sound of a door closing behind us. Outside, the air felt lighter. Caleb exhaled deeply. Did I do something bad? He asked. I pulled him into a hug so tight he laughed. No, I said. You did something honest. He smiled. My dad said honesty is how you stay tall. What came after? That night, my phone lit up. Texts. Messages. Apologies. Some genuine. Some performative. Linda sent one message. Just one. We need to talk. I didn't reply. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't need her understanding to breathe. I watched my son fall asleep that night, clutching the framed photo. And I realized something powerful. They tried to shame us in public. But a child, raised with love, reminded them what dignity looks like. Linda didn't wait long. 3 days, to be exact. That's how long it took before my phone rang with a number I hadn't saved but recognized instantly. I didn't answer the first time. Or the second. But on the third call, while Caleb was at school and the apartment was too quiet, I picked up. We need to talk, Linda said, skipping hello. Her voice had that familiar edge, the one she used when she wanted control back. About what? I asked. About what your son did, she replied. I almost laughed. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our places, neutral ground. Linda arrived early. Perfect posture. Perfect hair. Perfect expression. She looked the same as always. Which told me everything had changed. I'll be direct, she said the moment I sat down. That display at the shower was inappropriate. I took a slow breath. My son told the truth. You humiliated me, she snapped. No, I said calmly. You humiliated yourself. He just refused to be quiet about it. Her fingers tightened around her cup. You trained him to do that. That's when I leaned forward. Don't ever say that again, I said softly. He didn't perform. He protected himself. Linda sighed, rolling her eyes slightly. You always make things dramatic, Naomi. Marcus was reckless. Everyone knows that. I felt my spine straighten. No, I said. He trusted your husband. He trusted the promise of full-time hours that never came. Her face stiffened. That's not relevant. It's everything, I replied. She looked away. And that told me she remembered. 2 days later, my father called. He hadn't called me directly in years. I should have spoken up sooner, he said. That was it. That was his opening. He told me the truth Linda never expected to come out. He had promised Marcus the position. He had pulled it back after Linda complained that Marcus was temporary. Marcus took the shift anyway. Because we needed the money. I live with that, my father said quietly. And so does she. The apology that came too late. Linda showed up at my door the following Sunday. Unannounced. Caleb was coloring at the table. She froze when she saw him. For the first time, she looked unsure. I'm sorry, she said. Not to me. To him. Caleb looked up. Sorry for what? He asked. She swallowed. For making you feel like you didn't belong. He considered that. I always belonged, he said simply. You just didn't see it. That was all. No forgiveness ceremony. No hugs. Just truth. A new line in the sand. After she left, I sat with Caleb on the couch. You okay? I asked. He nodded. She was scared, he said. I blinked. How do you know? Because people get mean when they're scared, he replied. I hugged him. Hard. The fallout didn't come loudly. There were no screaming phone calls. No dramatic confrontations. Just silence. The kind that settles in slowly and lets you know exactly where you stand. Linda stopped calling. So did her sister. Family group chats went quiet, except for side conversations I wasn't part of. At first, I felt the familiar sting. The old reflex to wonder what I'd done wrong. Then something strange happened. I felt lighter. Choosing peace over proximity. Caleb noticed it before I did. You smile more now, he said one night as we brushed our teeth side by side. I paused. Do I? He nodded seriously. Yeah. Like when we're home. Home. Not my childhood house. Not family gatherings thick with judgment. This small apartment. These quiet nights. This life we built without permission. The phone call I didn't expect. A week later, Kiara, my stepsister, called. Her voice was soft. I should have said something, she admitted. I didn't protect him. I didn't argue. I was scared, she continued. Of Mom. Of rocking the boat. I know, I said. And I did. Fear runs deep in families like ours. But silence does damage too. When the story escaped the room. The video didn't go viral by design. Someone posted a clip, just audio, no faces. Caleb's voice. I'm not complicated. I'm loved. That was it. No names. No context. But people recognized the truth in it. Messages poured in. Single parents. Widows. Children raised in shame. All saying the same thing. Thank you for letting him speak. The shift I never planned. A local community center reached out. They wanted me to speak. Not as a victim. As a mother. I almost said no. Then Caleb asked, can I come? So I said yes. I stood in front of a room full of strangers and told the truth. Not polished. Not perfect. Just real. And when I finished, a woman hugged me and whispered. You raised a brave boy. What I finally understood. That night, after Caleb fell asleep, I opened the old box again. The photos. The letters. The life I thought I had to hide to survive. I realized something that stopped me cold. I wasn't protecting myself by staying quiet. I was protecting their comfort. And I was done doing that. The boundary that changed everything. I sent one message to the family group chat. Just one. We are not available for disrespect. If you want access to us, lead with kindness. If not, we're okay without you. No explanations. No debates. And for the first time, I didn't wait for a response. When healing finds you, life didn't magically become easy after that. Bills still came. Mornings were still rushed. Grief still showed up uninvited on quiet nights. But something fundamental had shifted. We weren't surviving anymore. We were standing. The change I saw in my son. Caleb started speaking up. Not loudly. Not rudely. Just confidently. When a kid at school said, "You don't have a dad," Caleb replied. I do. He just lives in my heart now. When a teacher asked about family trees, he drew two roots. One labeled mom. One labeled dad. No erasing. No shrinking. I watched him become someone who knew his worth, and I realized something terrifying and beautiful. Children become what we let them believe about themselves. The opportunity one never expected. The community center talk led to another invitation. Then another. Someone suggested I write. Not a post. Not a caption. A story. Our story, but not just ours. The kind that lets people see themselves in it. I started at night after Caleb fell asleep. 1 page turned into 10. 10 into 30. I wrote about silence. About shame. About love that survives without permission. And people read it. She showed up again. This time alone. No posture. No performance. Just tired. I didn't mean to hurt him, she said. I know, I replied. That's what hurt the most. She thought intent mattered more than impact. I lost my place, she whispered. I looked past her, at my son doing homework at the table. No, I said. You gave it up. She nodded. And left. The moment I chose myself. That night, Caleb asked me something that stopped me cold. Mom, he said. Do grown-ups ever get scared to tell the truth? All the time, I thought. All the time, I answered. Did you used to be scared? I swallowed. Yes. He smiled. Not anymore. And he was right. What love really looks like. Love isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with approval. Sometimes it's a small boy holding a letter. Sometimes it's a mother learning to stop apologizing for existing. Sometimes it's walking away without needing the last word. The pattern breaks. Healing doesn't announce itself. It shows up in small, unremarkable moments and waits to see if you'll notice. For us, it showed up on a Tuesday morning. The call from school. Caleb's teacher asked if I could come in. My stomach tightened immediately. Old instincts. When you grow up being blamed, every request feels like trouble. But when I arrived, the classroom door was open, and Caleb was standing at the front, holding a paper. He wrote something we think you should hear, his teacher said gently. The essay. Caleb read aloud. Not rushed. Not nervous. My family is just me and my mom. Some people say that's not enough. But love doesn't count people. It shows up. My throat closed. My dad died, but he didn't disappear. He's in the way my mom works hard. In the way she laughs. In the way she never lets me feel small. The room was silent. I felt something loosen inside me. A knot I'd carried since I was 22. The teacher's words. Afterward, his teacher pulled me aside. You've done something extraordinary, she said. I shook my head. I just loved him. She smiled. That's the extraordinary part. Word reached my father. He sent a letter. Not a call. A letter. He wrote about regret. About silence. About wishing he'd been braver when it mattered. I read it once. Then I put it away. Some apologies arrive after the damage is done. They don't reopen doors, but they can close wounds. The legacy I was changing. One evening, as we folded laundry, Caleb asked. Do you think I'll mess up like they did? I stopped. Mess up how? Make people feel bad because I'm scared. I sat down beside him. You already know better, I said. Because you were loved without conditions. He nodded thoughtfully. Then I'll do that too. What I finally saw. I wasn't just raising a child. I was ending a cycle. The quiet kind of bravery the kind that doesn't look like rebellion but changes everything anyway. Time does what it always does. It moves forward whether people are ready or not. Years later, Caleb was 14 when he asked me if we could visit the cemetery. It had been a while. Life had gotten busy in good ways: school projects, speaking events, late-night writing sessions, laughter that felt earned instead of borrowed. We stood side by side in front of Marcus's headstone. Caleb placed a folded piece of paper at its base. "I wrote him something," he said. "I didn't ask to read it. Some words are meant to travel privately. The woman I became. I published the book. Not a bestseller. Not a headline maker. But it found the people it needed to find. Single parents wrote to me. Children wrote to me. Even grandparents who admitted they'd gotten it wrong. I learned something important. You don't heal by being understood by everyone. You heal by understanding yourself." Linda, at a distance. I heard she tells the story differently now. She says she misspoke. That things were taken out of context. That's okay. The truth doesn't need agreement to exist. She never met the woman I became. And that's not a punishment. It's just a boundary. The moment that came back around. At Caleb's middle school graduation, families filled the auditorium. Parents stood. Cameras flashed. When Caleb's name was called, he walked across the stage confidently. Then he stopped. Turned. And waved at me. Not searching. Not unsure. Just proud. That was when I understood something so clearly it nearly took my breath away. He never needed me to be perfect. He just needed me to stay. The final truth. People will try to tell you who you are. They'll measure your life with rules you never agreed to. They'll call your story incomplete because it doesn't match theirs. But love doesn't need permission. And dignity doesn't ask to be validated. Closing words. I didn't raise a mistake. I raised a child who knew his worth because he was never taught to doubt it. And in teaching him that, I finally learned it myself.